Hey, Tam, that was Sarah Morano. It was really good to have Sarah on Beyond the Pale after our time with her on the Via Francigena. Good to catch up with her and see where she's at in her journey.
Yeah, almost a year ago now. Getting
Uh,
close to 9 months or so.
no, it's maybe
It's a year?
2 years.
Oh, shoot.
2 years. Summer 2018. Here
You
is
mean you've
March.
been limping around for 2 years now after that
Man,
walk?
I tell you. That Via Francigena walk, when I walked from Canterbury, England to Rome over the Alps, was in
71 days. Couldn't
71
take a
days.
day off like normal people. 1 day a week?
Man,
Come
I
on.
had a goal. Gotta go, Gabe. Gotta go. No,
going.
actually, it's not the optimum way to do it. As pilgrims, we want to take time to
It's the
smell.
journey.
It's the journey. It's really. I joke, but I had to get back to work. Unfortunately, I'm not a retired person, and I
Well,
was
I'm
extremely
glad you're not a
blessed
retired
to be able to
person.
have a job that allowed me the time to
Extremely.
do that.
To
So
get
it was
that many days
it was
off.
good. But we got to chat with Sarah. Sarah was one of the pilgrims that was with me pretty much the whole way on the Via Francigena. Not that we walked together all the time, but she was there at the same time. We stayed in touch, and there was some days that we walked together. And
Significantly enough, I got to meet her because she
Yes.
was at the beginning and I was with you the first week of your journey.
Yeah, and she reminds us in this episode. I always thought it was at that monastery that we met, but we actually met the night before at the campground in France. So yeah, I totally now I vaguely remember
Maybe
it,
in photos,
but it's the monastery part that I remember.
where we had a proper introduction.
But then even more pivotal and probably sticks in my brain the most was going over the Alps, and the day we actually hit the top of the Alps and Grand Bernard Pass, I walked that day with her, and it was very memorable.
I can see why that would stick with you.
Going up, hitting the snow line, having snowball fights in the middle of July. Not that we had a fight, we just kind of threw some snowballs and enjoyed the moment. But before we really move into our interview with her, Tam, what's been happening this week? We got the whole coronavirus thing.
Yeah, our lives are altered and it's been since, gosh,
About
before
7
Chinese
weeks.
New Year.
Yeah, it really hit during Chinese New Year, end of January.
That's when we realized schools weren't going to be going back after that holiday. So we had Christmas holiday, kids went back to school for a couple weeks, and then it was Chinese New Year and they had a break.
Yeah.
And then from then on, they haven't been back to school. And
it's been, and now
our
it's
city hasn't
starting
been
to
the
slow
same.
down in China. The whole coronavirus thing, as we speak in this episode, it's beginning of March. And
yeah, World Health Organization just put out some reports. They were able to send a few teams in and do studies and analysis on the data. And they said it's actually in decline now in China.
In China and in Hong Kong, I mean, we've only had like 105 cases in Hong Kong in 7 weeks.
And when you live this close with almost
there's
8 million
there's 8
people.
million people here. 100 is very, very...
But I tell you, everyone is walking around with masks on. If you go out in public, people are like taking precautions and
definitely
doing their due diligence.
But there's toilet paper back in the stores, and that is what's important.
Well, that was just moronic from the beginning, but anyhow.
There was a huge run on toilet paper. Somehow a rumor got started in Hong Kong that because of the coronavirus, all the factories that create toilet paper were going to shut down. And suddenly, boom,
There was a run.
Yeah.
People stocked up. In fact, I know a Western friend, I'm not going to mention her name, but she has toilet paper stocked up because she bought on Taobao or something.
Oh, gosh.
And she has toilet paper to last a long time.
She who will not be named. I don't even know who it is, Pilgrims.
Because I made a point of saying, I'm not buying into the madness, and I'm just going to trust we'll be fine. If we're not, we could use washcloths.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go line up. I had friends who lined up for 3.5 hours because they knew when the shipments were coming for the trucks to be
Washcloth.
unloaded. It's not
I'm
gross
using
to
no
me.
washcloth. I'm in like a reusable diaper.
Wait, baby, you're not far from that. Yeah.
Oh,
If you think you're using disposables in this eco-friendly home,
No. One of the benefits, though, Pilgrims, is not that I want to make light of the coronavirus and say there's a benefit, because we know that it's hitting a lot of people in very tragic ways. But Tammy and I went to the cinema the other day to watch a movie, and we were the only ones in watching the movie. We went to see the new Guy Ritchie movie, The Gentleman, and Tammy liked it.
and it's one of our favorite little secret theaters. It's in like right downtown, but most people don't know it's there.
Yeah.
It's in a a skyscraper on the third floor.
Every time we say to people, "Oh, do you go to the Emperor Cinema?" They're going, "Where's that? Where's that?" Nobody knows where it is. We could try to tell people to go there so that it'll stay in business. But it's got this nice little outdoor area where you can have a drink and have some food.
Yeah, like a little balcony.
Yeah, and then you can go in. They have these little
The popcorn's good.
tables,
The
yeah.
food's decent. They do a Beyond Burger, which I like.
Yeah.
And I get the pulled pork occasionally, but the Beyond Burger's my first choice. And
But we went to see The Gentleman, and
small
that was the
small cinemas as well. So whenever you go, you have like a little table that folds in front of you and leather
very
seats.
chic, very civilized. It's a place to go, see a movie. But we were the only ones there.
To see The Gentleman.
Yeah, and really, Hugh Grant,
fun.
Matthew McConaughey, just a fun caper movie. It was a lot. Normally, Tammy wouldn't like these types of movies, but she liked this one.
I did look away a few times throughout, but it didn't get crazy gory. Like, what was the other one? Something Hollywood?
Once Upon a Time.
That one, the whole end of the
Once
movie
Upon a
for the
Time in
last
Hollywood.
10 minutes, I think I just covered my eyes and plugged my ears.
Yeah. Love that movie, too.
But you and Gabriel insisted I needed to see it, and it was good,
Yeah.
besides the last.
I know you wanted to chat a little bit about a conversation that I had yesterday with a friend. And I didn't know how much you wanted to go there, but we started unpacking.
Well, it's off topic from your Via Francigena, but I thought, man, the things that were going through my head while you two were having this conversation, it was like disturbing and not all at the same time.
Yeah.
It just hit at the core of things I've been wrestling with in my deconstruction.
Right.
And basically, Steve and a good friend of ours for a long time had very differing views on where they hold to the tenets of their faith and how they view where people are around them
Yeah.
on their walk.
I think that's more it. I wouldn't say we had very different views, but the way they expressed it, I'm trying to decide how.
This person was also, I would say, a very non-judgmental person towards
Right.
others. Like, doesn't go around calling people other
Right.
or, a distinction.
No, that's where I'd say we share so much.
Definitely.
Like,
And I think
yeah.
that's how we can leave and still be friends, because you are both very strong personality types that
Right.
give pushback.
I think that for me, the whole idea of Christ is bigger. I think there's a temptation in our conversation to suggest I lessened Christ in my faith, when actually the opposite is true. Christ has become more real, more important, bigger. Because, though it's bigger, I see Jesus in operation in areas and in people's lives.
Most Christian people
would struggle to acknowledge that Jesus is operating there. And I think that's... I hate arguing somebody else's side, and this person has their very legitimate view, which I appreciate. And it was good because even though we got a little passionate, we both realized at the end that when we're friends, we both love God, we both love Christ, and we're just kind of seeing two sides of the coin from different angles.
Mm-hmm. And where I come into this is because I sat quietly and cringing on the inside thinking, I like these people. What are you doing? Stop it, Steve. Stop talking. But I thought, well, I can see where I was before. And you even said that there was a point where you felt the same way on the opposing view, where there's certain tenets of your faith that you hold so dear, it's like, don't even touch them.
Right.
And this goes back to things I've talked about on previous episodes occasionally about books that you've read and worked through that I wasn't ready for.
Sure.
And then eventually...
Pete Rollins.
eventually picked up and looked at and then, hid away like, no, you can't go there. I'm not willing to do this. But now I can see that I haven't processed it was as purely as you have. It was really good to listen to you, the way you process and talk things through. Really well thought out. And our friend said that as well. Obviously, I can see you've put a lot of thought into this and you've really backed what you believe. It really works for you in the weaving of scripture,
right,
and how it plays out into our daily life. I don't process as well that way, or not in the same way as you. I'm much more feelings based. And that's where our friend was just saying, that personal relationship is so intimate and so dear that she didn't say this, but my interpretation is everybody needs to experience it this way. And that's kind of what y'all came to at the end, is like your expression of faith, like each child relates to their parent
a different way.
Differently. Yeah. And child 1 sees mom as this, and this. Child 2 sees mom as like, no, she's this, and this, in the way they relate. And so that's where we need each other. We need to not disqualify other people's expressions or views, and use it to build who we are and let it come in.
And I think that's why even at the end it came together really beautifully, because we kind of, and not that we were arguing, but we were pretty passionate on both sides. It was very.
There's lots of listening.
But we did kind of take the temperature down a little bit at the end, where we said, "Listen, we really."
Let's see in video. Steve talks, and he's not pointing at the person, but I wanted to bring out, you do this when you're talking, and I find that very aggressive. I'm like, put your hands down.
Oh yeah, okay, that's okay. Fair consideration. I do. I get passionate. I do.
Because if it would have been between he and I would have been like, buddy, you take all this down.
Yeah.
Because I can't even have a conversation in the room with you while you got this energy going.
Okay, I do get the energy going.
But again, that's me, and it's how I can receive things. Like, I feel it on every level. Like, I feel
She's feeling it now.
I feel the energy in the room. I'm getting flesh. I feel the energy in the room. Like when you're in a foul mood and you're saying, this has nothing to do with you, I'm upset about this. I'm like, you brought it in, and now I feel it, and you're ruining my vibes.
Yeah, Tammy's very sensitive, and we've learned to kind of
we're all different.
Work that out. And that's really what we came to, me and my friend last night, is like Tammy said, we're all children of God, and we have different relationships with Father, Mother, God. And my relationship can't be Tammy's relationship, and Tammy's relationship can't be our friend's relationship. And I think that's the thing, is sometimes when we have an experience with God, the divine, and Christ makes himself known, it so moves us that we want someone to experience that in the exact same way. And it doesn't always happen that way. Tammy and I go on these pilgrimage trips, and this is where I really come alive, and I feel like just so connected, both not only to God, but to my fellow men and women. But not everyone would experience that, and not everybody would say, like, this is how I want to experience. They have different avenues for doing it. So I think that's where we have to all just give each other a lot of grace, that we're all in different places of the journey and different stages, and that's fine. That's okay. So.
I also wanted to say, coming out of that conversation and processing during the night, because I did wake up at like 2:30 and was awake a little while thinking about it. The way that, how do I say it? The way I've let go of some things, hearing the things that she held on to and held as sacred and untouchable. Like, I'll talk to you about this, and this, but when you get here, heck no. Yeah. Like, I'm not letting you touch this. Yeah. And those things, and I should probably be more specific, that I held on to that way. Maybe in the way I related to the person of the Holy Spirit. And does that help in being more specific, or more like how I needed that sensitivity and that connection? And I'll say right now, I know I'm not where my end game, where I want it to be.
Sure.
But I feel more at peace with the world, more at peace with myself, more at peace in my home where I'm at now. And that's what I have to weigh. Like, when I saw what she did, I panicked and thought, what have I done? Like, I'm a lost soul wandering. I've let go of these things that I should be clinging to and pursuing more fervently. And I'm not saying that I shouldn't be, but the fruit are what I said. That I am not fearful when I look at people or talk with people. It's more of being able to look and see what is it of God and his love that's in each person I interact with. And that's how we can spend time around our table and other tables with people that aren't in the same position in life as we are, because you have that grace to see each person and see what's the beauty in each person, which is, I believe, the creator, which is God, which is Jesus, the love, the fruit that we all benefit from having flow in and out of our lives daily.
Well, do you remember last week when we had our bread and wine meeting? I think I've shared, Pilgrims, about our bread and wine meeting we have here occasionally in Hong Kong, where we just explore life and faith.
It's not a set thing. It could be quite sporadic. We could not meet for 6 months, and then lately it's been weekly because we're on our island and nothing.
And we can do it.
Can't go out. So.
But anyhow, the point of me bringing this up is we watched Russell Brand at Greenbelt, the Christian Arts and Music Festival in England. He was the headliner last year, and we watched his whole talk, and at one point he said that very thing about finding the God in everybody, because sometimes people forget they're a child of God. I'm kind of ad-libbing here, but it was something along these lines, and we just have to remind people of that. People need to be reminded of their identity in God, and I think that's what's important, is rather than going around and trying to cookie cutter people and try to get them into a particular brand of relationship with God, is acknowledging that God is in everyone, and they just need to be reminded in some cases of that identity.
But even that, I mean, you can get into, it's how you do it. It's like, are you pointing out the beauty? Are you saying you're not right here? You know, like I can relay it through experiences and my walk in the Christian world.
Right.
And I hope it's pointing out the beauty in people and drawing more of that out in a non-manipulative way.
Yeah. It's
wanting to see the best for that person.
It's the non-manipulative part of it.
Because if they're not there and they're not willing.
But then for me, it comes back to the fruit. Is what fruit is the person? Because this is where some of the conversation will go. Is if I see somebody who's bringing life and light to themselves around them, and they're producing in their life, the qualities that the Bible talks about as being the fruit of the Spirit: love, joy, peace, self-control, gentleness, kindness. As we develop those fruit in our life, they bring life not only to ourselves, but our relationships and people around us. So a lot of times we will see people, especially if you come from the evangelical traditions we come from, we will dismiss people who operate that as kind of a general way of relating to the world, because they don't wear the same team outfit.
They're not professing.
They're not professing Jesus in the same way. And my whole turn is, wait a second, that's Christ. Those fruit are produced only by the Spirit. They've already grasped something, even if they don't always fully understand the elements of where it comes from. And I can celebrate that. I can think, wow, that's amazing. Now, would I love for them to even have a fuller revelation of who Christ is and the production of that fruit? Absolutely.
See, that's the thing. I think in the conversation, it didn't come up, and I wasn't getting involved, was that it's not the end game. Just because you recognize that there is love flowing through that person, and so that, i.e., in my mind, I see God working and operating in that person's life and them wanting to be in that place. It's not the end game. Like, would you rather they have this deep peace in their soul because they're connected with their Creator in an intimate way? You know, it's all just respecting where they're at in their journey, and I can't make them be where I think they would have more fullness in their journey.
And here's the thing: you
can present it through your life and your experience,
and
evangelism.
And considering though, let's say for argument's sake, someone has this vocal relationship with Jesus, like it's on their lips, and another person's producing the fruit, but they're not quite there, and there's this feeling like we have to get them from there to here. There's still kind of an arrogance in there that says, I've kind of, and this is what you have to avoid, because when it comes down to it, even the person who's here, who acknowledges certain things about Christ, God is so much bigger than anything we conceive. We're both, I love how somebody once said, it's like two fleas arguing about who understands the dog they're on the most. You know, it's the dog is so, it's
much bigger.
It's so much bigger that the little arguments and conversations we have like this are really insignificant compared to the fullness of God. That if God fully revealed himself in his totality, we would both be going, oh gosh, we totally didn't get this.
That's a good analogy. I think that
so
puts
keeps
it in
you
a
humble.
nutshell. Yeah,
it keeps you humble. Like, I totally
lest we ever think we've arrived and got it.
No. If anything, that has been part of my journey, is more humility. Even though sometimes I can get passionate about certain things, I also like to think that the more I'm kind of seeing things, the more I realize how much I don't understand. It's actually, when I understood less, I have more certainty about my knowing the totality. And now I'm like, wow, I haven't even scratched the surface. And that's why we're on a journey. Anyhow.
We're getting ready for our pilgrimage, or aren't we?
Yeah.
I don't know. I did buy my hiking shoes because time's ticking. We're less than a month out now to when our tickets are purchased for.
The Via Francigena, Via Francigena. I got that on my brain because we're with Sarah Morano in this episode. No, the Camino Portuguese. On April 2nd, we are flying to London. We're going to have 3 days in London. Just because I need my London fix. It's my favorite. As much as I love Hong Kong, and Hong Kong is home, London is...
You've missed it. You were supposed to go early in the year, and it got canceled.
Yes. And
for other reasons.
I charge my batteries in London. So.
But anyhow, we bought these tickets months ago with Steve's parents flying in from Florida to meet us. And then we paused once the coronavirus came out and thought we shouldn't invest any more money into a trip that may not happen. And then things seemed to be contained, and we bought the next leg of tickets from London to Porto, and then Italy, South Korea. The numbers flared up, and we're
just
sitting there
crazy.
looking, going, "Uh-oh, now what?" So we're, I think, half-heartedly preparing, or because I said, are there things? Do we need new sock liners? What do we need? And even then, Steve's parents are a little bit older, and we're not sure how much walking we'll actually be able to get in.
We'll see about that, but that's
so
okay.
It's going to be a different journey, but. It's so weird feeling.
I'm just hoping we can go.
Yeah,
I just want to
being
be able
in
to
limbo
go.
at this late in the game.
Yeah.
Don't know.
Anyhow, before we sign off for today, obviously you can see Tammy and I are switching. We're upgrading kind of where Beyond the Pale is going. We want to create a whole identity as the Pilgrims, and
they would only see this if they found the video.
That's right. So we're going to be.
We're doing an intro, our first intro with a tripod set up. Little light staging here.
That's right. If you're listening to this on a podcast,
adding some video
we're actually going to be really developing a YouTube channel as well. The Pilgrims Beyond the Podcast. Going to hopefully develop Instagram a little bit more, and really increasingly try to produce resources to help you on your spiritual life pilgrimage. That's really why we're here. So. Tam, tell people how they can subscribe, rate, or review. Come on, it's important.
Are we on Spotify yet?
And here's the thing, is once I develop this, and if you're watching this on video, I do one of those things they do and go, just hit the subscribe button. But I haven't figured that even out yet. So I'm going to do this. Hopefully I can figure that out in the future. But it's a tutorial, man. We're figuring this out.
Well, I've been doing it lately. I've been watching some YouTube videos on bonsai making. And I've been heeding our own advice and subscribing and liking the videos that I watch to do them a favor and raise their profile and make them accessible to more people that will pop up on their algorithms when they're looking for topics that we discuss and talk about and interview on.
So you can do the same. Rate, review, subscribe to Beyond the Pale at wherever you're listening to this, iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, whatever platform. And increasingly, we're going to be letting you know about the other platforms. You can always check out the Beyond the Pale YouTube channel, which is going to be being developed. It's already up. We've got some videos from my walks and Tammy and I's previous walks, but you'll be seeing more of this up there as well.
And do you want to see more gumbo too?
No, we don't want to see more of gumbo.
Maybe next time Jambalaya will come visit. Yeah? No. Did he do a good job? What do you think? You like listening to this guy? Yeah. No. Get Jesus.
And with that, it's time to hit the trail. Go once more beyond the pale. With episode 105, or it could be 106. I forget. Camino Tales with Sarah Morano.
Enjoy.
Enjoy.